Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast. I've got a very special guest here today with me. He's someone that, honestly, I don't get a chance to interact a lot with, but I know that he is a big player in the space of land. And one of the things that I got to sit down here to talk to him about is his team and how he's leveraging people and really what that has brought him in terms of, looking and doing other projects. I mean, Drew Haney has done so many different things. He shares so many tidbits of wisdom, experience, hilarious things on this episode here. I'm sure you're going to love it. If you don't know Drew, now you're going to get to know him. And again, we get to speak about how he goes about approaching business and finding time for what he wants to do. In fact, speaking about finding time and building freedom, this is exactly what I do on the Dirt Hacker Challenge. No, it's not a challenge or a contest. It's 5 days where I challenge you to work with me to get completely systemized so that you know how to continue to optimize on your business. We talk about getting clarity on your business flow, getting clarity on your acquisition, building that out in a platform like Pebble, role-playing how leads can come in. We even go through how to build automations with things like Zapier. In fact, I have something called the Zapier Mapper, where we lay things out and we talk about what kind of automations we want in place. It's 5 days for somebody who just hates being tech savvy. I will hold your hand. You'll be working with me directly. There is an expectation of going through homework and assignments, but you're going to love it. If you're interested in actually getting systemized, scaling your business up, finding freedom and buying back freedom in your own business, make sure you head over to dirthackerchallenge.com or just go to pebblerei.com on the homepage at the footer. I run this every month. Anyways, I think you're going to love this episode here with Drew Haney. Enjoy the show. Cheers. We're just talking here, and I asked you, why do you have such a cool podcast room?
So it is cool. So I did the Gap and the Gain book last night. I was stuck in Phoenix traffic for 3 hours. And it's talking about focusing on the positive. So the gain would be, I'm so blessed to have this podcast room. The gap would be, it's really just a closet that they stuck some foam onto. Well, no.
And cool lighting.
Yeah. I had to add this lighting.
Okay.
So I am very grateful, but it's also just a really good marketing piece to get millennial tenants in here. Where in reality, it's a closet with foam. But I am very blessed and grateful to have a separate space, because when I'm here, I can concentrate. There's no kids in the background. There's nobody that's going to come in. So I'm excited to be here.
Well, thanks for coming on the show here, and let's jump right into things.
Before
I met you.
Show off this soda. Have you had this before?
No, strawberry vanilla Olipop. Tell us about it.
Okay, so they're super expensive. They're like $2 each, and it has a third of your daily fiber in it.
Oh, wow.
8 grams of sugar, a third of your daily fiber. Okay.
That's huge.
So here's how I know these work. I had 4 of these in one day. And then that night I went to Oppenheimer, the movie.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And let's just say I can now relieve myself in the weirdest places I'm good. So I'm going to enjoy this on our podcast.
I wish I had one of those. Well, for those of you listening, it's called Olipop. I've never heard of it up here in Canada. So
it's now in Costco in LA. I'm sure it'll reach the rest of the country soon.
All right. Well, we'll check it out. I mean, I wish you were sponsored by them. I mean, you might as well
I know.
be able to go to relieve yourself during Oppenheimer. I haven't watched it yet, so I heard it's great. I, I had a few of my team members literally go watch it twice in the theater. Did you enjoy it?
I did. I think it's a genius play from U.S. government standpoint. 'Cause they got to set the record straight from their perspective, right?
Hmm.
And kind of make us look like we're not the bad guys. Which I believe. I believe the narrative, but when you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a production, everyone believes that the narrative is true, even if it's biased, right? It's a biased narrative, but it was good. It was very good, and I think it's a good play that they made.
Well, I heard Barbie was even better, apparently, from the numbers. So,
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that. I have not seen that one.
oh man. Anyways, for those of you guys that are listening and watching, here is Drew Haney. Drew, we finally got to connect in person actually earlier this year out in Korea for the couple days that I was actually there for. Before we even get to that, I mean, you were running a mastermind, and I think you still are running that mastermind. But can you give us a little backstory about who you are and how did you get into land? I know you've got quite the story, so can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, um, I spent my 20s active duty Army. Jumped out of airplanes. Sweat more in my life in a few years than I think most people do in their lifetime. And it was wonderful, but I was day trading early in the morning and day trading at night, and I wasn't making money. So I decided in my 26-year-old wisdom, hey, I'm going to leave my good paying full time job and day trade full time because it's not working part time. So if I do it full time, then I'll get it to work. So I did that, left the Army. I day traded full time while living in South Korea as a civilian for 2 years. My wife and I just got married. We just had a kid. It was actually a pretty good life, but I didn't make any money doing it. Okay. So finally, March of 2020 happens, the flash crash. I lost like 80 grand in 12-hour period. I remember I was up at 2 in the morning trying to exit a leveraged S&P futures contract. And the mark was illiquid. There's a massive spread, very stressful. And that's when I decided, hey, this isn't working. This whole day trading thing doesn't work. So I stopped that. I threw in the towel. I kind of went through like a 2 to 3 month rut where I said to myself, is this it? I just go to my W-2 every day and just slowly die inside. And that's when my friend and mentor, Eric Wong, who is Dave Deniston's business partner, he's like, hey, I flip land. You should try it. I make 300% on every deal. And he's talking about the cheap stuff, not the big stuff. And from a day trader's perspective, even the best day traders, they lose money on 75% of their trades. And then the 25% that they make money on pays for all those losses. So for me to hear people do hundreds of deals and not lose any money, it just seemed too good to be true, right? And so I said, okay, I'll try it out. What do I have to lose? Just my time, right? So I tried it, and it started working. And so this would have been summer of 2020. Land Geek has this, and this is genius. They have this 6-month money back guarantee. So you buy their flight school. If you don't make that money in profits in the first 6 months, you get your money back. But you have to prove that you did the work, right? So month 4 or 5, I went through the very typical dip, the emotional dip, where you've bought a few properties, they're not really selling, and you say, does this even work? And so I remember thinking to myself, well, at least I'll get my money back for the education, right? And then in month 5 and 6, I actually sold 2 properties and I made 10 grand. And then I said, oh, bummer, I can't get my money back. And then I said, okay, so it does work. What is the bottleneck? Like, how can I crank up the heat? And for me, my bottleneck was I bought the cheapest plan on land.com. And so I went in with Buck Risby. We split the most expensive plan at the time. And it was like turning on a fire hose. I sold 30 properties the next quarter. Um, and so before you know it, within 6 months, I'm making more money flipping land than I was in my W-2. So I would say a year into it, I discovered Pebble. I used you guys for about a year. And then we had a season where we had a lot of inventory. And I said to myself in my infinite wisdom, oh, I'm gonna cut the cost and get rid of Pebble and then we'll reactivate later. And that was a mistake because then we lost all that data, right? So as you know, you've been working with Daitina, my sales manager. She's also my general manager. We just turned you guys back on and we're super excited. We are loading hundreds of properties into Pebble in terms of what our buy price was, sell price was.
Do want to talk to you specifically about, my interaction with your team. Now, I wanted to ask you, that's one thing I noticed about you. I mean, I didn't really have much interaction with you up until, I met you in person when you were running your mastermind. I'd like to talk a little bit about that as well. But I notice you always have people doing things for you. And I mean that in the best way possible. That's the first thing I noticed about you. When we got to the event, you had somebody who actually literally planned out the what do you call it, the what you guys are going to do outside, sitting around and where the meals are going to be.
The schedule. Yeah.
Yes, the itinerary. Yeah. Your wife, your lovely wife, who had put together all the goodie bags for everybody attending the mastermind. And then I noticed working with your team, Daitina. I've been on calls with her, and I haven't even talked to you much. Like, I've talked to her way more than I've talked to you. I've talked to your teammates more. Like, I noticed you are someone who fully believes in leveraging people. At least I think so.
Yes.
How did you get there? Like, how did you get there?
So here's the secret, guys. It's actually laziness. So in school, I'm 34. In elementary school, Mark Twain was required reading, right? And one of the stories of Mark Twain is the Tom Sawyer story, where he gets in trouble. He has to paint the fence. Remember that story?
I don't.
So it's a fable, but he gets in trouble. His aunt makes him paint the fence outside the house, and he doesn't want to paint the fence. So he makes it look really fun, and then he convinces the other neighborhood kids to paint the fence, and then before you know it, he's got a whole crew, and he's just supervising. And so I think that's a little bit of a negative twist to put onto delegation, but that's the way I view it, is that I actually just don't want to do the work. And I'm okay if they mess it up. What's the consequence if somebody messes it up? It's just going to cost me money, right? If you factor that into a business expense, it's totally okay.
So, you're okay with them messing up. I mean, how involved do you get then? I mean, there must be a certain point where you still have to give them guidance and you're still in there with what does that split look like? How do you get to them? How do you get them to that point?
Well, you do little by little. So currently, Land of the Free, which is the first business I started, the business flips low cost desert land. That one is a 95% run by my team. So, for example, we just resubscribed to Pebble. I don't even know how to log in. So they are doing that. They are loading all of our property data into there. We're merging all of our databases, because this is why we left. One of the reasons we left Pebble was to save costs. about a year ago. Another reason was because I was concerned about having all of my eggs in one basket. So having all of my data in one place. So Pebble is a one-stop shop, which is great if you trust the founders or the people who don't trust them, then it's kind of a risk, right? So I got to hang out with you and Kevin in Seoul.
Yeah.
And what did Kevin go to the Korean spa?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He went
I
with
got
you
to
guys.
hang out with one of the founders naked. So, I know these guys aren't hiding anything, and I know they have the best interests of us, of the land flippers. They're not going to screw us. So they're not going to turn evil. They're not going to double their prices overnight. So once I got a good judge of your character, I'm totally okay with you guys having a lot of power over my data and my systems.
Sure. Sure. Coming back, and thanks for bringing some light to that. And it sucked because I didn't get a chance to stick around. I had to actually
Yes.
head back to Japan at that time. But I'm glad you guys all got to get vulnerable and naked together. But
Yeah.
so tell me, how do you go about finding team members? Like, again, this is something you seem to have a knack for building a team. What's
Well,
that process look like?
yeah. Daitina was my first employee. She was a buyer lead who,
No way.
oh, listen to this story. She bought land from me in Mojave.
And by the way, for context, Daitina is your like operations manager. He pretty much runs the show.
She was originally hired as my sales manager, and now she's the general manager. She runs the whole thing.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Um, so she originally bought land in Mojave, and she was one of those people who said, "Oh, I'm going to move off grid. I'm going to leave Phoenix."
Yes. She did. Yes. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and whenever you hear that, like most of them aren't actually going to do it, but they just have the
Yeah.
dream. She actually did it, and in that process of learning the county regulations, she learned where to get water. She learned everything. I said, "I'm so impressed with you. Can you please come and work for me?" And so a lot of the educators teach that you're supposed to outsource the sales position last. I actually did it first because she was the
Hmm.
best fit. So found her. And then all of my other hires have been through hiremymom.com.
Oh wow.
And I tried to use ChatGPT, but it sounded too professional. So I write it myself. I actually post my LinkedIn, my Facebook, all my podcasts. I say, before you apply, make sure you like me as a person, because if you don't, you're not going to be very happy. So all of these applicants are reviewing who I am as a person, and so I'm only getting applicants that jive with my value system.
So on the day to day, like how involved are you with land now? What are you actually doing?
I don't know. I don't know what I do all day. Uh,
You drink Olipop all day.
yeah. Um, okay. So actually, here's a new project that's really fun, and it's more than just a project. It's actually consuming probably 60% of my time right now.
Sure.
I was just invited by a development firm down in Tucson to become a partner because I'm the land guy. I know how to find land. I know how to source land. And this development firm is very exciting because we are creating a technology that will compete with Boxable. Are you
Oh,
familiar with Boxable?
I think I've heard of it. You want to share with us?
Okay, so Boxable is that startup in Las Vegas where they essentially create tiny homes in their factory. They ship them
Yeah.
flat, and then you
Yeah.
you basically like turn a crank, and then they pop up in 1 hour. Okay,
Okay.
that's a brief summary. We
Not
are
the same one that like Elon has out in the SpaceX.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's it. So Boxable is great, wonderful company. They have some supply chain issues. They have demand issues. We are building a competitor to Boxable, where we actually have the second mover advantage. So remember back in late '90s when Ask Jeeves was the first search engine?
Mm.
and then
Oh,
Junior
yes.
came and did it better. So
Hmm.
that's our goal is do it better, faster, cheaper. And without a doubt, this technology will disrupt the real estate space, and we would like to be the ones to do it. So I'm very excited. These units ship flat. You can ship 8 on one semi,
Yeah.
and you can stack them. You can build multifamily. You can build hotels. You can have ADUs, additional dwelling units in people's backyards, or you can do off-grid tiny homes because the technology, the solar, there's little
Mm.
machines that condense air or water out of the air. And so
Wow.
you can have, as long as you have a concrete slab, you can have a completely off-grid home. And so we're very close to offering that to the market, and I'm really excited about that.
Andrew, it's really exciting to hear, you channeling your interest to where you want to be, and that brings up the question then, where does land fit in all of this? Where what is your reason for having your land business? Is that sort of the way that you get freedom to work on other projects that you're very passionate about? Can you shed us a little bit of light on that?
It just keeps working, right? Helps with credibility. If you go to Western Arizona on LandWatch or Land.com, I have a very strong presence there. My my big cheesy smiles is the third slot down. I'm considered the land specialist of Western Arizona. Um, so helps with credibility. When we are ready to offer this product uh, to the market, to the retail market, um, my networking, my network within the land flipping community will really help.
Mm.
Because
Mm.
here's the cool thing. Let's say you buy a parcel for 20,000 and it's worth 50. Okay. You could sell it for 50, but let's say it doesn't sell, or let's say you're bored and you want to do something fun and you buy a tiny home from us for 40,000. Okay. You turn that $50,000 parcel into a $150,000 property that now qualifies for a mortgage. So you're in it for 20, you spend another 40. Let's say you spend another 10 getting the site ready. So what is that? You're in it for 70, and now you have a property worth 150. You can rent it out, you can Airbnb it, you can sell it for cash. So this product will really help land flippers exit in more creative ways.
Mm. Mm. Drew, have you always had sort of the approach that land isn't end all be all for you, that I mean, I'm assuming that's why you don't want to do it every day, and you want to try different things. I mean, was that always in the picture for you?
I don't know. I just keep saying yes to stuff, and that's what I've been to. Like, I think 6 countries this year. I just always say yes, and it gets me in trouble, but it also leads to some really good things.
You've always approached things like that.
I don't know. I I I have no idea. I don't even know what I do all day. I just
This is the feeling that I get, and I got when I first met Drew. It's just like he just seems to go with it, and things seem to fall into place for him. I'm sure there's a lot of work behind the scenes that you do, but it always seems like you have that approach and process to things, which I find so interesting. Um,
I wanna brag about Kelly. She's my newest hire.
yeah, please tell us about that.
She's my executive assistant. She's my personal assistant. She's my clone. So her role is anything that Drew needs to do that doesn't make money, she does it. So I'm super pumped because if you ever, when you hire for a specific job in your land business, it's
Mhm.
really nice because you don't have to do it again. But that person's role is to make the business more efficient. It's not to make you more efficient. When you hire an assistant, their only job is to make your life easier. And it's the best feeling in the world because so for example, I'm sure your emails were very clear, but I realized 10 minutes before meeting with you, I didn't know what the link was to get into this system. So instead of digging through my emails, because I get 300 emails a day,
Yeah.
I just texted Kelly and I said, hey, send me the link. And she just texted me the link. So that's what I'm pumped about right now is Kelly, and I want to build an army of Kellys. I want to build a Kelly factory. Women from here and blonde
Oh man.
will just change your business. So I definitely
Ah,
recommend it.
I love that. You're literally buying back your time, and it's one of those things that I love talking about, and even talking about processes and repeatable processes and getting other people to do that for you. It's all part of scaling and buying back your time, so you can leverage yourself to do things that you want to do or make more money or whatever it is, or that you're more interested in. And clearly, I see that happening with you, Drew, which is really exciting. I want to talk a little bit about the mastermind that you had running, and I don't know if I'm supposed to or not, but I thought that was so interesting. Are you cool if we talk a little bit about that?
We can
So
talk about anything.
yeah, okay, cool. So the last mastermind you had was held out in Seoul, South Korea, out of all places, and it just happened to be that I was visiting Kevin. And funny enough, so Kevin, my co-founder, he's like leaving Korea, so it was just all perfect timing.
Mhm.
Um, what is that all about? What is the mission with that? First of all, what is it called?
Um, yeah, we don't have a name for it. So
Okay.
here's how this started. I I don't even know how these guys ended up at my house, but Jaron Barnes, Ajay Sharma, and Peter Nukasani all
Yes.
somehow ended up at my parents' lake house in Wisconsin. And we had the house the week to ourselves. And we were like little schoolboys, just unsupervised schoolboys. And we ended up being best friends by day 3. And then after that experience, I said, we can recreate this for other people, charge some money, and really have a lot of fun with it. Because here's the reality is when you network with people, people bring opportunity. Do you know who's made me the most amount of money in this entire business? Is Ajay Sharma. He
Hmm.
brought me a 60 parcel portfolio. He brought me Jaron Barnes. So let's say let's say I would have paid 10 grand to go to that mastermind to become really close to Ajay. I've already gotten 100x multiple of that investment, right? We didn't exchange any money during that. Um,
Sure.
so that's where that started. So then we hosted one in Seoul. We have one in Puerto Rico coming up, which is sold out. These are all very small. In Seoul, I think we had 8 people.
Yeah.
Puerto
Hmm.
Rico, we have 10.
Hmm.
We don't have one planned after, but if you guys want one, let us know. We like to go to fun places, and it's just a chance to hang out, build relationships, and really dive deep with people who are trying to better themselves in every way, but especially their land business.
So for those who have never been part of a networking group, and they may not be able to come out to the one that you're running, but they may be offered an opportunity to join another group or attend another group. What should they sort of approach that? What kind of a mindset should they approach that with? A lot of people are gonna think, oh, well, I'm just paying
I
money
just
to
okay.
meet people and chit chat.
Just had this talk with Chris Gibson, and it finally clicked, and now he's going at it 100%. I spend a third of my week networking, a third of my work week, because I know I'm not very smart. But if my friends are smart, they're going to tell me when the market shifts. They're going to tell me all the tricks they learned. I could text Callan and find out what she's been up to, right? So that is one thing. Unless you think you're a genius, you need to be friends with smart people.
Mm.
and then people bring you opportunity. And so I've spent about 70K on land flipping education. I've
Wow.
probably spent, if you add up travel plus gifts, I would say over 50,000 on networking. Um, and so, for example, I just left Tucson. I got back last night, and I hung out with all of the partners for this development firm. It's called Circlestone Capital. And I'm having Kelly send all of them thank you notes, handwritten cards that the robot is going to print.
Yeah.
And she's going to reference very specific things that we talked about. So one guy, we talked about, hey, we want to shoot guns together. Another guy, we went on a hike together in the morning. So we're going to thank him for that. So each person gets a customized thank you card, and each person feels special because they are, right? And
Mm.
these relationships, you need to start seeing relationships as assets. And
Mm.
these relationships are going to last the rest of your life. Because if you're making friends with movers and shakers, no matter what business they're in, you want to know them, right?
Yeah.
So I've pivoted recently. I'm not super involved in the land flipping anymore, but now I'm into multifamily and these ADUs and these stackable tiny houses. So now, because you know Drew, you've got a guy in the vertical structure business, right? So that's why it's important, is because this is how stuff happens, is by knowing people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Drew, I mean, what do you think you're doing differently from everybody else in the land space? What is it that make you, you know, you and the way you approach things? What is that one thing? If somebody had to listen to this and take one thing from you that to get inspired from, or whatever it is, what is it that you're doing differently?
I just think I'm really lazy.
There you have it,
I,
ladies and
I just
gentlemen.
so just want people to do my work for me, and I also I like making friends. So
Mhm.
networking for me is easy. Um, I think my branding is pretty good on Land of the Free. Also, go to ibuyland.org. That's my partnership with Jaron and Asia Barnes.
Yes.
I think our branding is pretty decent there. So I understand my market. If you're selling rural vacant land, you're probably selling to conservatives who are religious. So you need to speak their language. Um, so I talk about Second Amendment. I talk about abortion on every single listing I have.
Oh, wow.
I don't go into the details. I say something like, we're faith based. We believe in the Second Amendment, and we believe in equality for all people, including unborn children. So it's most people would consider that to be a foolish marketing play, but in reality, the minority that are turned off go away, and the majority that are attracted to that message buy from me.
I love that. Um, there just seems to be so much to you, Drew, like that you're doing. I'm kind of blown away by all these sort of tidbits of things, from networking to branding to working on structures and this. I just and yet you seem such like a laid back guy, and you sort of take
Oh,
things as they come.
Jesse, you know the secret? Here's the secret. The,
Please.
the stair stepper in my apartment gym. Okay, listen to this and hear me out. When you run on the treadmill, you can kind of feel tough and you can kind of feel cool because your feet are kind of making like a loud boom sound as well. You can listen to like Eminem and like kind of feel like you're like rough or something, right? When you go to the elliptical, try it out. When you go to the elliptical and you listen to Eminem, you don't feel cool. You feel like nerdy, and you could. Why is that? It's because the elliptical, you're moving forward and backward, and it's also silent, right?
Yes.
Go to the stair stepper, listen to motivational speeches with who's that Navy SEAL guy who runs the ultra marathons? David Goggins.
Goggins.
Listen to David Goggins' motivational speeches. On the stair stepper, you will feel like you are conquering Mount Everest. I guarantee it. You will feel so good.
Is that where you get a lot of your inspiration from or motivation, or what is it?
This is my recent thing that I've been doing. Whenever I feel stressed, which is multiple times a week, I say to myself, I have to do at least 50 floors on the stair stepper, which is easy. It's like 12 minutes. And I put in the motivational speeches and I just feel like a badass. And then the rest of the day I act like I feel, right? So I guess that's the secret. It all boils down to stair stepper and
David Goggins.
use promo code Drew for $50 off.
Drew, I really appreciate chatting with you here. I'm going to come into what I call the quick fire round, where I just want to get to know you a little bit more outside of land. So if you don't mind, I'm going to throw you some random quick questions here. Outside of land, what do you like doing?
Korean barbecue. Korean barbecue has really changed my life for the better, and Korean spa. So LA has plenty of that. We just moved to LA. I'm really excited. Kansas City was wonderful, but they definitely don't have the Asian American community that is here. So
Awesome. If you had one book that you've recently, sorry, if you can recommend one book that you've recently read, what would it be and why?
last night I was stuck in stop and go traffic west of Phoenix, and I was listening to The Gap and the Gain
Yes.
by Dan Sullivan. And I was so grateful. I said to myself, I get to sit in this comfy chair with air conditioning and listen to a book. How often do you get to do that? And
Yeah.
so The Gap and the Gain is what I was doing last night.
Okay, one thing you did as a kid a lot of and wish you could do more nowadays.
Ride my bike really slowly with no agenda.
All right. Do you get to do that sometimes?
Not here. You get stabbed here or hit by a
Okay, one bad habit you're actively working on.
I tend to, when something unexpected comes up, I tend to assume the worst. And
Mm.
the worst
You
rarely.
don't. I don't see you that kind of personality. That's so interesting.
It's in there somewhere. I just assume the worst, and it's just a bad habit because
Mm,
the worst almost never happens.
right.
So
Right.
here's an example, great example. Um, Ditina comes to me last week and she says, "Hey, I think GeekPay's algorithms are all messed up, and we're double charging everyone, and it's this horrible big mess." And I immediately thought, okay, everyone's going to sue me, and it's going to be horrible. So I dug into it, and it turns out that GeekPay, I guess, has this beta site that a lot of our borrowers have been going to. And
Mm.
when you go in there to make an extra payment,
Ah,
button that says apply to principal only. And so
gotcha.
it's been applying to principal, and then it still bills them the next month. And so from their perspective, it looks like a payment was not counted.
Mm.
So I immediately assumed everyone was suing me, where in reality, it's just a minor thing.
He quickly went right to the bottom there. And by the way, for the you guys that are listening, if you're looking for a payment processing system for land, GeekPay is a wonderful one over by the folks at Land Geek. Okay, last question for you here. Who would you recommend to have on this podcast and why?
I think you've had all my friends. You've had Peter, Ajay, Jaron. Um,
Anybody else?
Let me get back to you on that one. I'm trying to think.
Sounds good. Sounds
You
good,
know,
Drew.
okay, I have a good one.
Hmm.
Wayne Berger. So he, do you know Buck Risby?
Yeah, and he's actually going to hop on a recording right after this.
Oh, cool. So Wayne, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Wayne went through not Land Geek flight school with me and
Okay.
Buck. And Wayne struggled to get momentum in the beginning,
Mm.
but he stuck with it for multiple years. And then we finally discovered what Wayne's superpower is. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
He's meant to be a funder. A fund. He is the most chill. So he doesn't want to be on the phone closing big deals.
Yeah.
He's the most chill funder I've ever met. When he
What?
spends Wayne's money is the most de-stressed, detached money you'll ever get. It's wonderful. He's
All right. All right.
So maybe you could talk about his mindset and how he views, how he's able to just be better than everyone else in the funding game.
I love that. All right. I'll make sure to have him on the show here. Drew, you're not like actively in the land space as I see a lot of others. I think you're sort of in the background, but I know you interact with people. You do run a mastermind. So how can people get a hold of you, and how can they engage with you?
I'm on LinkedIn.
Or your team.
Yeah, I love talking with people. I'm on LinkedIn, Andrew Haney. I'm also on Facebook, Andrew Haney. Look for the profile photo with myself, my Asian American wife, and 2 kids. There's 4 of us. Send me a direct message. I'd love to talk, say hi. Drew at drew-haney.com is my master email that'll go to Kelly first and then go to me. So any of those methods will work.
Awesome. Drew, thanks for coming on here, talking all sorts of different things from, going to the toilet to being lazy, all the way to wanting to ride on your bike more. I appreciate you so much and the things that you do and the people that you connect. So, Drew, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jesse. Appreciate it.
I'll see you around. Cheers. Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we'd greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.